Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic, your host on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Xur's inventories, random rolls, my recommendations for October 8th, 2021. You can find him in his regular spot on the EDZ. Just head over to the Winding Cove, and on top of the cliff right here, right next to the precipice, you can find the Xur. This is a high overview of everything he has in case this is all you cared about. And I did hear something about last week or earlier this week, you could actually see the Xur early. I'm not sure what that is, but it seems like he has the same inventory people were reporting on. First up for the weapon today, we have the Telesto, an exotic that's decent in PvP, really bad in PvE, kind of like an infinite range, explosive payload fusion rifle that is a lot of fun and often breaks the game. So, we'd like to break this thing out once a season, every season, and see exactly how the Telesto is going to break the game. It's not even a joke, literally almost every season breaks the game. Up next for the Hunter Exotic, we have the Bombardiers, which actually did get changed this season with this extra bit of effects. Whether you're using a certain type of subclass, gives you an extra bonus. If you don't know, dodging leaves a little martyrdom-like explosion on the ground, which goes off after a few seconds and doesn't do a massive amount of damage. I think it may do like 100 or 150 damage in Crucible, and then of course in PvE it does next to nothing. So the main use for this, I guess, is going to be those special effects. But the problem is, most of the time you put that down, by the time it goes off, you're usually dead because the enemies can just shoot you and walk away. And ultimately, I just don't know when this would make a difference. I don't know when I would use this. When it comes to the roll's actually pretty good. Well, high mobility is good for Hunter, recovery is okay, discipline's really high. I guess you combine that with the explosive effects, so it's a pretty good roll. Total stats 65 for an exotic I just don't know when to use. Next up for the Titan exotic, we have the MK44 stand-asides. If you've never heard of it, you get an overshield while you're sprinting at full sprint, while at full health with any of these shoulder charges equipped and charged, and then hits with these abilities give you half of your melee back. So again, to get that overshield, which is not that big, you have to be sprinting at full sprint, at full health, with a shoulder charge fully charged to be able to get that shield. And then, yeah, you get some of your melee back. Like, what? When it comes to the roll, it's a pretty decent roll. Obviously, you'd like to see a lot more strength because you only ever get half of your melee back. You want to get that strength up as much as you can still. High intellect is not bad. High recovery is also not bad. So total stats of 66 is also really good. A pretty damn good roll in an exotic I really never want to use. And finally, for the Warlock exotic with the Winter's Guile. This is going to be a melee exotic. You kill enemies with their melee, you get more melee damage. It's pretty straightforward. That's a lot of strength. A pretty great roll right here, by the way. High recovery, high strength, low mobility. That's exactly what you'd want. Obviously, the total stats is a little below average, but wow. That is a spiky distribution. Up next, let's take a look at the different legendary weapons. First up, John 7 is a pretty good weapon. However, you could do definitely better than this particular roll. We have the 7 Seraph Carbine Revolver. Again, you can do time payload on this, and I really like time payload. A lot of other people like Vorpal on this. The Gnawing Hunger, actually a pretty good roll. Although I would like to see a bit more range options in here. A pen and mag is pretty good, getting that magazine almost to 50. Multi-kick clip Zen is pretty damn good. I think you can get tap the trigger here, but again, needs a lot more range on it. The Distant Tumulus, there's no snapshot. It has some handling, but I really don't like this weapon. The Wishbringer, which is kind of all over the place, but it does have range. The Temptations Hook, you want Relentless Whirlwind, it does not have that. And then finally, you have the bottom dollar. What you're looking for on this is going to be explosive payload or some type of damage perk with a bunch of other range perks. To be honest, Extended Barrel, the Accurize, and Tac Mag are pretty damn good, but these two perks and this is just not what you want. To give you an idea of what this thing can roll with, this is my current version. It has Rangefinder, it has High Impact Reserves. There's a lot of really good perks. It's just a really big pool. I don't know why I made this wooden, this is gross. Up next for the legendary armors, again, this is just for the Titans. We have something like a 59, a 57, a 62, not high recovery, not high intellect, I don't really like that, and then a 60, which is very high intellect. Not really a fan of any of these for this week, again, just for the Titan, but who knows. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you're picking up that exotic Cypher Quest Xenology, doing Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit, and you get progress, and you get an exotic Cypher, which is basically just freedom. Freedom! I mean, free stuff. And finally, the exotic engram. If you don't know, this exotic engram is guaranteed to be a high stat roll and something that you've never received before if you're missing stuff. And on this one, I got a 66 roll, which is pretty good, but pretty low recovery. I think I'll stick with my old one. In case you're wondering, this is how the top level players and veterans, this is how we get high stat armor. It's just kind of doing this every week. Well, I mean, high stat exotic armor. And of course, as always, make sure you come check out my live streams, twitch.tv/Dychronic, link in the description down below. We're often doing open lobbies for raids, for nightfalls, seasonal stuff, and all that whatnot. Check the link in the description down below. And of course, a big thank you to my patrons on Patreon. I didn't even know this clip was here. My patrons on Patreon. Anyway, specifically, I want to give a big thank you to Mom and Dad, Luco, Dark Strange, Kelly, Joe Smith, Monte, Blackness, Raymond, Shoner, Panther, Casey, Reagan for their support on Patreon. And that's it. My name's Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.